How's it going, guys? I just finished my second playthrough of the Elden Ring DLC, Shadow of the Erdtree, and I hinted at it in my bail video, but I kind of wanted to make a follow-up video regarding the difficulty of the game. And granted, this take is going to be a retrospective look after a second playthrough. I had this conversation with a friend once both he and I finished the DLC the first time around, and we were both talking about all of the difficulty drama, which kind of blew our minds. I mean, it was getting shit on Steam. People were on YouTube were getting upset at the difficulty, and it seemed like a very interesting topic. And we talked about it for a bit, and we both agreed that while the DLC was hard, and I do believe that overall, especially I think the world content of it, not so much the bosses, honestly, that's what really felt the most hard. I think some enemies, it's so funny. I mean, you start the DLC and like the first enemy absolutely kicks your ass, and then there's the boss at the mausoleum, I think that's what they call it. It's like the ghost boss. If you go left after the coming into the DLC, you'll know what I'm talking about. That was ridiculous. But I think you think about the upgrade mechanic in the DLC, which is the fragments, and you think about the original base game and the learning curve there, and I think it's very similar. I mean, if you go straight to the castle at the beginning of the game, I mean, I think Morgott, I can't remember which one he is at that part of the game. I mean, he's gonna kick your ass, and then you go and you explore the rest of the world, you come back, and you should be doing fine. But on the second playthrough, it really put it into perspective, where if you've been following along, I've been using Marika's hammer, and it's insane. It was destroying pretty much all of the bosses in the first part of the game, of the DLC, very easily, to the point where I felt like the videos honestly weren't as fun to make. I'm assuming they weren't as entertaining, but I mean, I was pummeling through the bosses. And I believe that a lot of the DLC bosses are weak to Holy, which might be the reason why. But I mean, if we look at the base game, most of the bosses in the base game, especially toward late game, are very resistant to Holy. And that's why Holy is not really a good way to go for trying to beat the base game. And so it completely turns the script in the DLC. I just wanted to use Marika's hammer because I thought it was fun. I had never used it before, and it ended up being incredible. To the point where I switched to the Death Knight axe, which is what I'm fighting Mesmer with. Even then, it didn't feel that bad, and it was going so well that I made a point to fight Mesmer much earlier on than I did in my first playthrough. Mesmer was difficult, but very manageable because I had so many fragments, because I thought he was the final boss, so I left him for pretty much the very end. I mean, as far as you can go in the game without killing Mesmer. And it still went well this time around. I think the bosses feel super balanced, other than the Radahn second phase. And I mean, I think maybe it's a little hypocritical of me. I think the Radahn second phase is insanity. I disagree with the difficulty there, but his first phase is phenomenal. And I think most of the bosses, I think with the exception of maybe the Hippo and the second time that you fight the Dancing Lion Beast in the ruins, I think that the basilisks there are just bullshit. I think you throw enemies, you gank bosses, and ads in a boss fight is just a lazy way to make things difficult. But with the exception of those two, I mean, everything else went pretty great in the DLC. Pretty great, and honestly, at sometimes pretty fucking broken. I mean, if we look at the knight right here, all I was doing in the game was just exploring. I was playing the game. incredibly skillful of me. I mean, all I'm doing is jumping, attacking, just doing jump attacks and using this weapon that's absolute insanity. But it's nothing crazy, so I don't, especially after a second playthrough, I don't understand all of the drama. And maybe it's died down. Maybe I'm making this video late, but I kind of wanted to get this out there and see what people think and see where people are at now, especially after doing a second playthrough. Because I think learning bosses, you get into this mindset where it's impossible and the fight's so difficult. And then going back, you're already familiar. It really didn't seem that bad. Especially when you compare it to Melania, which this is my, I don't know, 5th time fighting her in this fight in my most recent playthrough, and it still took me, I mean, granted it was a different build, but it took me hours to, maybe not hours, but it probably like 1 or 2 hours to get a rhythm down. I still can't dodge waterfowl dance, and again, I'm not extremely skillful. I just love these games, and I like making videos about them. But Melania's, I think, still, we don't count Radon, I think Melania's still the hardest boss in the game. She gives you more time to heal. She gives you more opportunities to attack. But I think her punish, she's so punishing. It's her ability to gain back health. For people who can dodge the waterfowl dance, I mean, good on you. But I think it's much more punishing than any boss in the DLC. I think even the first phase of Radon, he'll still give you your opportunities to heal. I mean, you just heal instead of attacking. That's, I think, the biggest thing that I got out of the DLC was just, instead of attacking, I have to heal. And that was something that I learned very early on, and that's something that really helped me with all of the boss fights. Again, my playthrough that I put on YouTube, fairly overpowered in terms of the weapons that I was using. And I did explore a lot more this time. I think my first playthrough, I went to the bosses immediately and I just suffered through them without upgrading my fragments. But I think that's what my friend and I were talking about. Are people just not exploring? Are people just not using buffs? You've got Golden Vow and Flame Grant Me Strength, as well as just being able to just change your build. I mean, even for Bale was tough the first time around, but this time I switched to the sword, to the great katana that does more damage to dragons. And I mean, I was getting hit like crazy. It was such a sloppy fight compared to my first fight with him, but I was doing so much damage. It really didn't matter. And some people don't want to have sloppy fights. Some people want to strive for perfection, which I think most of the time I try to in these games. I don't think I'm good enough to, but I try my best. And when it doesn't work, I mean, I don't summon, but I'm not opposed to switching builds. And I think, is that something that people aren't doing? You get plenty of the larval tiers in the base game. I mean, you're going into the DLC, you should have plenty. And then the DLC gives you more as well. Using the buffs, I know you have to have 25 faith, but again, by the time that you're in the DLC, you should be able to hit your soft caps on your main stats for your weapons. And then pour some into faith. If it's going to make the game easier, if it's going to make the game more fun because it won't be as hard, I think it's well worth doing. So I'm just confused at the difficulty conversation with the DLC. I don't think it's very different than the base game. And while it's not that I don't even agree with using summons, I don't like using summons. I think that the split aggro that you get on bosses, it's not for me. If people need to use mimic tiers or summons to get through the game, do it, honestly. If that's what's gonna make it so that someone has fun, then that's absolutely fine. I don't think you can compare them. I think that beating a boss without a summon or a mimic tier is very different than beating a boss with a mimic tier or a summon. I do genuinely believe that, but if that's what people want to do and that's how they're gonna have fun with the game, summon. That's perfectly fine. But you don't have to. I mean, this is me beating Radon because I got tired of just getting shit on nonstop. And some people might call this the similar to using a summon, but it's still me killing him with, a pretty broken build. But I feel strongly about his second phase, which is why I did it. I think I got his first phase down pretty solidly before resorting to this. But this is just an option of what you can do. And maybe it's pride. Maybe some people are just proud, and that's perfectly fine too. Maybe I'm just not gauging that. I'm not understanding that. Or they don't want to make a build specifically for a boss or have it be this easy. It's one or the other. You're either getting absolutely shit on the entire time with the second phase of Radon, or you're sitting there poking him. So yeah, maybe it's that, but yeah, I'm just confused. And I think the biggest thing out of all of this is the fragments. I've actually seen a good bit of people argue that the fragments are cheap. I think I saw, I can't remember the YouTubers doing a video of it, and he was saying that the game literally holds your hand and gives you like a cheat code with the fragments. I think I disagree with that. I think it's the way to, and I'm pretty sure this is official from software. But it's the upgrade path in the DLC, and I kind of wanted to take a quick look and just see how many fragments you can get before hitting your first really tough point, which is Castle Ensis, right? You could probably say that about the Dancing Lion. So maybe we'll just let's try and see how many we can get before going there. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, I'm not sure if I want to count this one because I'm not actually sure where it is. On the ground in front of Miquella's cross. So that's 7, maybe 8, 9. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You can get down here without fighting anything. So 10. 11. You can also get around here without fighting anything hard. So 12 in front of Miquella's cross. Is that... I can't remember if that... I wish they had pictures of it. Like this one has a picture of it, but... Maybe 12 if this is up here and not down there. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I mean, come on. 18, 19. You can get down here. Oh, can you? No. You have to go through the castle, so I'm not going to count that. But we're at what, 19? Yeah, I think you have to get through the castle. 19. So we're just short of being able to get to 10. Your Scadu fragment level of 10. Before, maybe. Let's play it on the conservative side, so we'll call it... Let's call it 9. Super conservative 8. You're still doing 1.55 damage. You can be at 8 before you even have to fight Rolana. And maybe even the Divine Beast. Just from exploring the world. I mean, my first playthrough, I got to this castle up here. I think it's the Castle of Reprimand. Before anything else, because I decided to go down here and then I shot up there. I am sure that I may have made a mistake on 1 or 2. I'm also sure that I'm probably missing some that you can get to without having to fight Rolana. And you take out the Divine Beast. I mean, the Divine Beast is a tough boss, but I mean, even if you go to the Divine Beast with 5 or 6, It's not going to be that bad. So are people just missing? Are people not exploring? Are people going straight to these bosses without exploring? You can make an argument that you can't get down here without fighting. Well, no, you can, because you can just run by these dragons. You have to kill the dragon man, but I mean, he can be tough, but he can also be a pushover. So yeah, I'm just curious as to what people think. Is this still what's going on? Are people still having the opinion that the DLC is too hard even after maybe a second playthrough? Did people just give up on it? I'm just curious as to what people think with the difficulty of the DLC, especially now that it's been a bit since it's come out. Because I certainly feel very different about it. I thought it was fair. I honestly really think that the DLC is quite easy now after a second playthrough, and knowing the upgrade paths and having used weapons that are quite strong against the enemies. But yeah, I mean, if you're having trouble, switch your build. Get some buffs going. Explore the world more. And if you're still not getting it there and you want to summon, if you don't want to summon, it's a hard game, but I don't think it deserves all of the drama and all of the hate that the DLC got. I think the DLC is phenomenal. It's kind of a bummer that it's the last piece of Elden Ring that we'll get for a while. But yeah, just super curious what people think. Let me know. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if I'm an idiot. Let me know if I'm just talking out of my ass. But I really felt differently this playthrough, and I kind of wanted to make a video about it. So yeah, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you guys on the next video.